You can find this course on schooldesign.net. Join on Facebook website and group. You can find course and files on patreon.com. Hello guys, in the next class about Vray. And this time I'm gonna talk more about the most popular material like glass, wood, marble, and how to create them in the Vray material from the beginning to the end. So as you can see, I have some simple scene here. There will be some sphere with the metal material from the Vray material library, and we have some box that we will apply glass here to check the different results. Before we start, you must understand that to create any glass material, we need to have the object with some thickness. So very often I see that people want to create, for example, glass, and they create only the simple plane without any thickness. This is wrong solution because we need to have some thickness to apply the glass material. So remember always to add some minimal thickness for your glass. Okay, so now we can add the standard Vray material to our box to convert it into the glass. So we have three most important parameters to create the correct glass: diffuse color, reflection, and refraction. So all these three parameters are the most important to create the correct material. Okay, so we will start with the diffuse color set to fully black, and this is what we get in the viewport. We have the black material. The next one is reflection, and this value determines how much we will see in reflection. The black color told Vray that there is no any reflection. If we will set it to the fully white color, something about 203, we will get the fully reflection. So as you can see, we get the reflection that comes from our surrounding. So as you can see, we have the ground here, and there is the gray color that came from the surrounding area. But as you can see, we still don't see our metal sphere. The next very important parameters is glossiness for our reflection. As you can see, with the highest value, which is 1, our glossiness, we have very sharp edges between our ground and the surrounding area. If we will reduce it, for example, to 0.99, you will see that we will get some blurriness. So by changing this value only about 0.05, you can see that we have the huge effects apply. So this is why we need to be very careful by changing this value, and only change it with one step by step with very low numbers. So for example, as you can see, if I will set it to almost 0.9, which is only 0.1 value, you can see that we have almost the full blurry effect. So if I will, for example, reduce it to 0, we'll get almost nothing. So we'll stay with the 1. The next one is Fresnel reflection. Always when we want to create the class, we need to have this Fresnel reflection turned on. If we turn this option off, we'll get the reflection the same on the whole surface. So you can see that right now this material will look more fake because the reflection is almost the same in each point. So for the glass, we always need to have Fresnel reflection turned on. So as you can see, right now we have some reflection, but we would like to get the glass which make that glass is transparency. So we want to see objects that are behind our glass box. So for do this, we need to adjust the refract parameters. So it's the same as with the reflect. If we have the black color for the refraction, it means that there is no any transparency. So if we will change it to fully white, something about maybe 2500, we will get the fully transparency for our elements. And the same with the glassiness. For example, if I will reduce this glassiness to something about 0.7, you will notice that we have the refraction, we have the transparency, but also our objects will be very blurred. And what is very important here, you will notice that the render time will be much longer. This is because to create the blur without any noise, we need to calculate the scene for a long time. Okay, so I will back again to the 1. And there is still one more parameters IOR, which is interactive of refractive. This value is set based on real materials, on the real elements, and we have different IOR for different type of textures. So for example, we can find a lot of different tables with the value in Google, for example. And you can see that we have different IOR, for example, for air, for alcohol, crystal, diamond, and for glass. For glass it is 1.517, but in most 3D graphics software and render engine for the glass we use 1.6. We can change this value in the glossiness, but in Vray normally the Fresnel for reflection is locked, and it's the same as for IOR. So for example, if I will change this value to 1.2, you will notice that the elements will be transparent with different results. For example, we'll set it to 0.5, and you can see that we have less transparency. So 1.6 is the best value for the glass, and this we should mostly use. So if you would like to add some color to our glass, instead of use diffuse, we need to work with the fog color. Here we have the two main parameters: fog color, where we can set the color for our glass, and we should mostly use anything between the highest and the lowest value. The red one, the blue, the purple. It depends what we exactly need. And this is how we can add the color for our glass. And right now with the fog color we can increase the strength of the color, for example 6, which is too much for this color. Okay, so by changing the strength to the 3 we can see that the purple became more blue. For 2 it's still purple but it's darker, and everything below the 1 we will decrease the strength of the color. So for example 0.5, you can see that the color is more white than normally. So for example 0.2 will be totally white and 0 is without any fog color. So 1 is the standard value for adding the color for our glass. Okay, if we have the solid color, we can also change it in a very fast way into a gradient. So we need to go to the fog color and we need to click on this switch to add the material, and we need to select gradient wrap. By adding the gradient wrap, we also added some additional color and the map, and in the gradient wrap parameters we can change, for example, to the red one on the left side and the white side on the opposite direction, and we can also change the angle. Or for example minus. Okay, so you can see that we have the gradient color. Of course right now it's too sharp because we set the highest value, so I will change it to the red on this side, maybe to white on the right side, and I will move the slider. So this means that I will get more the red color from the left side, and it will be transformed into the white on the opposite direction. I can even remove this one and we will change, for example, to the red, but something in the lower value. So now we are sure that we have the red on the whole surface. Of course we can manipulate the gradient by changing, for example, the gradient type to mapped, or for example to Pong. So you can see that we have some additional effects, and we can change the interpolation. So if we back to the liner, and interpolation is also liner, but we can, for example, change it to easy E, so there will be only the smoothness on the beginning, or for example we can change and add more smoothness at the end, or we can even change it again to the solid, so it looks like we don't have the gradient but there is only the fog color. So it depends what kind of gradient we need. We can also change it by going to the gradient. In the next part, I will show you how to add frost to your glass and how to add some shape without changing the geometry.